All right, my man Adam, thank you so much for hopping on today, man. I'm so excited for this. What's up,
Good
man?
morning, brother, man. Yeah, I'm pumped to be here, dude.
How's the weather in Michigan?
About the same as it was in Florida about a week ago. Crazy,
Cold and
man.
miserable?
Oh, no, I got about 18 inches of snow on the ground. It's exactly what you expect for February in northern Michigan. Cold, gray, and lots of snow.
We woke up to 75 degrees 2 days ago. The next morning we woke up to 35 degrees. We got back to 75 yesterday for the Mardi Gras parades. And now we're just sitting at a nice humid 60, 65. But it is what it is. What can you do?
Take it. Life is
All right, man.
good.
So look, I'm so excited to jump into this call. So quick background, Adam and I met at the summit for Brian Pruitt back in April of 25.
Yes, sir.
We hit it off. Yeah, we hit it off, man. Coming from a sports background, athletes, quarterbacks to be exact. And, we got talking and realized, man, we have so much in common and just being on opposite sides of the country, but, living kind of the same life. And it's been pretty cool seeing him as a father and as a leader and what he's done and getting into some things that he's created in terms of his own community, his own identity, as a leader and, a guy who just surrounds himself with growth and even discomfort, just to build like we did in the summit. But anyway, man, I just really appreciate you being on here and it's going to be a great conversation. So number one, just for anybody, who is Adam Sheren and how did he get to the man that I met in April of 2025?
Long story. I start now. I'm child of God. That's where I start, right? Who is Adam Sheren? I'm child of God. Child of God, husband and father. And just a man now that is just trying to, take responsibility for my presence. Not just in what I can provide, but how I show up for my family, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So yeah, just trying to focus on those things, just really being present.
What are some experiences that, because like you and I, we get reminded, we've talked about this, that we get reminded, to be present, be where our feet are. But what are some things you can look back on and just kind of say, this was a turning point where I realized, I have to be this guy. I have to have this mentality for the family.
Good question. That's a great question. I'd say my experience with that turning point wasn't early. I'd say for me, it was around 35 before I really stepped into the idea of living on purpose, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and really kicking the autopilot switch off that I'd been relying on for God knows how long. And, that first phase for me was just admitting that my life really at that point had become unmanageable and that only really a power greater than me was going to restore me. It didn't necessarily lead me straight to the Bible, though. It took me to the gym, right? A place that you could go immediately get feedback. You could go train, meditate, refuel, grow. But, I kind of realized quickly that growing physically in the fitness was really just one piece of the puzzle for me. And that I needed to work on like my emotional control, my spiritual presence, my mental discipline. And I needed to train those the same way that we train our muscles, right? Consistently. So, um, so yeah, that was, I don't know that there was a specific moment, that really launched that. It was more of just like waking up one day and looking around and just having this moment where I was like,
Mhm.
my whole life is on fire. What's going on? And then really just kind of taking back the reins and trying to instill some different systems and some habits to be able to stay on track to become who I wanted to become.
Yeah. When you talk about that moment at 35 or just that time, you know, uh, to get back to the sports, world, I mean, did you kind of feel like since you had stopped playing ball or just kind of stopped, playing anything competitive sports that you kind of lost some identity and you're kind of like searching a little bit? I feel like that happens so often to athletes in general.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. It's exactly what happens with athletes. I think that also was a precipice that led to Forge, right? Because you lose that sense of belonging, almost like that, and that need. You get away from understanding the needs you have for a brotherhood, and so you're taking on roles as a husband and then becoming a father to one, two boys, and then a little girl, right? Blessed, love it. It's nothing better than being a father, but you're taking on these roles that you think you know what they are and what they call of you, and you really have no idea. And as much as you can read and talk to people, your journey is your own, and you have to be able to figure out a way to show up on purpose in those new roles, no different than you were when you were an athlete and you're trying to, figure out how you're going to attack a different defense, right? Maybe a cheesy comparison, but there was a lot of unlearning that had to take place for me to be able to step up into those new positions that you gain as life progresses.
Hmm. Yeah, for me, the battle and the big battle for everyone I coach and work with, or it all starts with me, right? Because I go through these things, I've been through these things. I remember just there was always these limiting, irrational thoughts, right? Like I remember when I finally got things on track, I'm feeling good, and part of my journey too was to get back into it, get back in shape, train my systems the right way because Emily was pregnant for Benjamin, number two, right? So, and I remember just I finally started defeating these crazy thoughts, and then I remember they would just come back because I was like, wait, you just got comfortable with one. What makes you think that it's going to be the same having two? And then my thoughts would just spiral, and it really, really, really shaped into, like you said, you think you're prepared. You could talk to everybody who's got two kids, who's done it, they're in it, and it's totally different. It's totally unique to me because I kept thinking, it's a boy. How different is my life going to be? And what what good does that bring to me? Like, what energy is that bringing to me? Thinking about how much I'm going to change, rather than, hey, flip the switch. Wow, what an opportunity to grow! What an
Yes.
opportunity
Yes.
to love on another child and just flood my mind with positive thoughts. Right. So that's been part of the system that I work with. That's part of the system that I try to coach too. It's never going to be easy, and it's always going to be different for each person. So because the kids are different too. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody's kids are so different.
They all require their own way of being.
But yeah, very cool. So let's fast forward. We met 2025. What led you? Which the rumor is that you were one of the first guys to sign up, but what got you to Brian's Summit in Sarasota?
Mm. I would say it was the need to do something uncomfortable. And, there's different levels of that depending on who you speak to, right? What might seem simple, right? Filling out an application for some summit, for me, was extremely uncomfortable. And there was phases to that. But I saw this guy that I had followed on Instagram, loved the way that he provided content, the things that he said, the energy that he gave off. And I thought, man, this just looks like something that I could vibe with. And an older version of me would have been just like, and just, kept scrolling or clicked away from it. And I remember sitting in front of my computer. It was late at night. I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to just fill out this application. So I fill it out. Don't even tell my wife about it, but she follows Brian. And one day I'm sitting on the couch and I get a phone call and it's Adam, man, hey, it's Brian Pruitt. And my wife perks up and he's like, he leaves me the message that, he had read the application, and you know how Brian is, man. He's just top level energy, just always positive. Makes you feel like you're the only person in the world. And so I hung up the message and said, what was that all about? And I said, it was, Brian. I said, I applied for this men's summit, 15 guys, they go down and they just, spend a week together, just kind of building and bonding and becoming more of, who God has called them to be or whatever. She's like, oh, well, did you get selected? And I was like, yeah. I was like, but I don't think I'm going to go. I just filled out the application to see. And she was like, you have to go. you're doing this. You absolutely need this. And it's interesting because it's amazing what happens when you just choose to lean into the discomfort and try something new. I had to get over so many silly mental roadblocks just to fill out the application. And then when I got accepted, right, or chosen, I still wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. It was like, oh, that's cool. You know, like I'm capable. It's something I struggle with. And you'll love this. There's an interview I was watching with Mike Tomlin one time talking about potential. And he said, it's not about what you're capable of. It's what you're willing to do. Right? Capability, potential is just another term for hasn't done anything yet, right? And so here's a chance. Here's a chance to do something different. Be scared. Go fly across the country with 15 dudes you've never met before. Hang out. You have no idea what you're getting into. But I just felt called to do something that would make me grow. And that's where the growth is, right? It's in doing those things that are uncomfortable. And it was, as you know, I'm sure you can speak to this, it imprinted on your life. Forever changed.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you and I both know, I mean, that for me, I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to pulling off the mask and just being present and just totally being myself, right? Like it was different. And just being around 15 guys that felt the same exact way, like I'm here for more. And we were vulnerable. And then we allowed us to connect. Now, part of that growth, like you said, you talk about the growth from discomfort. I mean, if we just sat there and didn't, lift and work out and run, I don't know if it would have been the same, but there was just something about that struggle together. It was like that bond of just, hey, we're running up and down a bridge. I probably would never do this in my entire life on my own, but here we are running on a bridge. And, going through the struggle, it just opened up more doors for us to connect and get even closer. So yeah, I was the same way. I mean, I think it was from YouTube. I just filled out an application. I don't know how it happened, but then you just get the message, from Brian, hey, really want you, the whole spill. And
Yeah.
and then my wife's like, who, what, where? We have a newborn. I said, yeah, it's but I need this. And she knows now, and I had to show her a couple of Brian videos for her to be like, okay, yeah, this guy's
Did she
legit.
let you go alone
As
after
soon as
seeing
Brian
Brian?
dropped the F word, faith, I was like, yeah, we're good. We're
Yeah.
good. She's like, yep. Very
My wife
cool.
is like, is he AI?
I
uh,
part of me still thinks he might be, when I see
oh
even when we
man,
see him in person, it's like, is this guy real?
he's
you
special.
know?
He's a special dude.
I know. And he has a calling. I sent him a message on Monday. Now after everything kind of, or I'm sorry, Friday, a week after the one day event we went to last Saturday, and he said, look, man, great job. You're doing awesome. And just instantly got back to me. Oh, I appreciate it, man. I really, really, even when we get on top of those mountains, we still find ourselves in some valleys, right after. I was like, yeah, we do. And he's just so grateful, just for the fact. So yeah, it was awesome. And so you and we both took away a ton. We obviously built an incredible network with the guys there. We
Mm-hmm.
all reunited. There was no question. We're going back. We're getting together. We're going to make this happen. We
Mm-hmm.
should call it. My dad is they have a fun annual fishing trip. They call No Excuses Fishing Trip. Like there's no excuse whatsoever. If you got to go for 2 hours or 2 days, somehow, some way, you have to end up at that fishing trip. So we should call it like the no excuses something. I don't know, just so we always do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think what's cool about this too is the struggle with doing something like that obviously is the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's leaving your wife, it's leaving your kids, and it's you have to have that supportive spouse at home that understands. And I think what's great about what makes this different from like a boys trip, essentially is that it's not about like escaping the day-to-day responsibilities. Like this is true just what we had with those guys down there. It's a commitment to an alignment of values and becoming better. And it's a legitimate filling of our cups, knowing that spending that time and being focused on refueling ourselves so that we can go pour out over everybody we love is a real thing, and that's going to happen. And I think it's a lot easier for the people you love to support that when they know that that's something that's truly helping you help them, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I use the same analogy. You talk about filling the cup is fuel. It's fuel for the ride, right? I mean, you guys went for 5 days. I went for 3 days with you guys, and I came back ready to go. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was exhausted, but after I got my energy back and caught up on sleep, it was like, I'm here. I'm present. This is where we're meant to be. I've reminded myself of this. I know what it needs to be, and here we are.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward. You've got the calling. You're craving the same community. So we start Forge.
Yeah.
Tell me about the branding. Tell me about the thought process behind it. Tell me about the initial takeoff to get it rolling. How you fought those, probably had those same limiting beliefs that when you're filling out the application and going, you're like, nobody's going to do this. I don't want to do that. What was that? What was the momentum to get over those thoughts as you built Forge and lean into it?
Um, don't hold me to this, but I think it was, and I made a video a little bit about this after the summit, but I think it was Mel Robbins that said the opposite of belonging is fitting in. And I think lots of things that jumped into starting Forge, but I think I was in that kind of awkward middle between who I was and who I was becoming. And you can kind of get stuck with wrestling with this perceived obligation that I have to show up today as the same person I was yesterday, whether that perceived obligation is to you or to what you think other people are thinking. And because when you start committing your life to growing and becoming somebody different, it's not a microwave process and where everything just clears up and suddenly falls into place. It's actually the complete opposite. You're trying to make sense of what you need to bring into that new version of you and what you need to let go of. And spiritually, a lot of this probably jump started from the summit. I could feel that tension between who I was and who I knew I should become. And that gap just created a restlessness that I just couldn't ignore it anymore. So that was like the launch into starting Forge. And I don't know that it was necessarily like a moment, but you get to the point where you realize there's only so much you consume. And I'm a reader. I love listening to podcasts. I love listening to insight and wisdom and learning about how to train and how to grow and how to love. But at some point you can get into a paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
right? And become blinded by the things that you can't see, right? Looking out into the future. What does this look like? How is it going to shape up? Who's going to come? Like, how do I build it? And I remember getting over that by hearing a guy talk about the book. I'm going to butcher the title: The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And the boy's walking with the horse, and he gets to the edge of the wood, and he says, "Hey, I can't go any further. I can't see a way through." And the horse says to the boy, "Well, can you see your next step?" And the boy says, "Yes." He says, "Well, just take that." So I remember just completely turning my brain. I had to reframe my thoughts and just take complete control of them, not focusing on what's down the road and just what is right in front of me. What's my next right step? Make a phone call, right? Get people together, and then just kind of see what happens from there. And so that's what I did. I just focused on taking the next right step with Forge, and um, one thing led to another, and before you know it, I heard the term while we were down there, you got to build the plane sometimes as you fly it. And that's kind of what I did with Forge. And it's still a growing process. It's still not perfect. It's still quirky, but it's alive, and it's been awesome. It's been an absolutely
Yeah.
life-changing deal
What
to
is
do
the
that
typical um like itinerary on a typical meetup? Because this is every Saturday you try to go.
every Saturday. Yep.
So
So
what's the itinerary and what have you found worked versus what you feel like you've had to improve and, kind of like just picture somebody who wants to potentially start a community like this. What would you say was, kind of some growth spurts that you can help them avoid in determining what to do next?
yeah, itinerary was simple. We come there, we say our hellos, get our niceties out of the way. We get right into a warm up. I have a quote. I bring a whiteboard which outlines the workout for the day, and then I have a speaker. We listen to music, and then I have an app that calls out the workouts through the speaker so that everybody can stay on the same pace. And we go through the workout. If there's new moves that I haven't done before, if there's new people, I walk them through what that looks like. We go through that move. If it's summertime, we go for a dip in the lake when we're done. And then we come back, we sit down, and I usually will go through a little bit of intention. Just some faith-based intention, something that's been on my heart. I just speak to the guys. And then what I've been focusing on lately is incorporating a lot more feedback and
Mm-hmm.
participation, getting the guys to share. I've had other guys come up and lead the intention, talking about things that they've gone through, that they've struggled with, how they have managed their way through it, what they rely on now, certain books that they've read, people they've connected with. And then we talk about wins.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a win.
That's important.
Who has
That's
a win
important.
this week? And so it's really simple. And it's about an hour, about 35 minutes of workout. Boom, here's the quote of the day. Workout, a little bit of intention. We get guys asking for prayer. And we leave like you leave the summit. I tell the guys, I told you guys at dinner, man. I said, being around you boys just unzips a part of my soul, right? You just like, you can't
Mm.
explain it. And every Saturday morning, I tell the guys, man, there's some Saturday mornings where I'm like, gosh, man, not really feeling it this morning. But by the time we're done and we're walking out that door, you are primed, man. You are ready
Mm.
to go. And I go back home and just in time to have breakfast with my family, and you already feel like you've won the day. Everything else is just gravy after that point. I have already won because I've done something difficult and I've done something for myself and I've bonded with some other men. And what it's like being a part of that, man. It's hard to describe, and it's a feeling I wish you could put it in a bottle and put it on a shelf because
Mm-hmm.
you make a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You just ride that high. I mean, it's just incredible. And like you said, the best part is you and I both talk about this that we're still in the fight as much as anybody else. We need it. Like when I coach in mental performance, if I'm coaching someone saying, look, the best route for you right now is to probably journal and get your thoughts out. I promise you, is because I've been through that, I've done it, and I'm journaling to get my thoughts on the paper too, right? But same thing, you've turned it into community where it's not, hey, we go work out, Adam makes us work out, and then Adam talks to us for 20 minutes. It's like, no, no, no. We're all together, we're all in it, we're all on the same level, and we're just growing together. And I think that's also what the summit was like for me. Because when I look at everybody else around on the summit, I think I was the second to youngest guy out there. And it just felt like I was like the little brother to a certain extent from the outside looking in, right? Everybody's got the businesses, everybody's doing well, everybody's got older kids, but quickly we all realize we're on the same level. We're the same person trying to find more, and that's why we're here. And that's what you're doing with Forge. I mean, when you bring these guys out, like you said, you're unstoppable when you finish, especially taking a dip in, is it actually Lake Michigan?
Oh
Or
yeah,
is it another?
yeah, right in the shores of
You're
Lake
taking a
Michigan.
dip in Lake Michigan,
Hmm.
and then you're going to start your day. It's incredible.
And a lot of times it qualifies as a cold plunge.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
I could imagine.
yeah.
I'll be out there. I promise. I'll be out there.
To touch on something real quick though, you're so right when you talk about essentially that the teacher isn't perfection,
Hmm.
right? And I struggle with that in my own, like when I talk about faith and my journey with my relationship with God and my marriage, and understanding that and I had these limiting beliefs. Right? Who am I to talk about this stuff? I'm not perfect. I've failed at this. I struggle with it. I still need this, and that's okay, right? It's um, you're still called to do those things. And he's not looking for perfection. He's looking for effort in any way that's gonna talk about him and reveal his word and whatever that means. And I tell those guys, if you think that I started this group and I show up every Saturday for you guys, you're delusional. I'm selfish, man. I do this for me. I'm joking with them a little bit, but I need them to understand I get every bit. And I bet you if you talk to Brian, he gets every bit out of those summits that you do, that I do, that everybody else does. He loves doing it, but I'm imagining he's a lot like me in the sense that his cup gets filled by knowing that he is impacting other men in a very positive way and providing an essential need for men not to escape, but to align themselves with other men who have shared values and a commitment to growth.
Yes. I was talking to another guy over there, and he said he was struggling with the imposter syndrome. All these guys are so awesome and they're doing this, and they've got 20 people in their group and 50 people here, and Brian's doing this. And he had told me, he said, I talked to Brian about it, and Brian said, that's never going to change. It's up to you to change that internal dialogue, like Stacy talked about. And he said, Brian simply told him, he said, I am in utter disbelief that 40 men would actually show up to work out with me and to listen to me talk, and a couple of my friends put on a panel and talk. He said, I'm shocked. He said, I can't believe it. And it's just the imposter syndrome. I mean, you just think that you don't deserve it, but you do. I mean, you've put the time in. You're right where you need to be. It's just one of those things you just have to get over. It's like your fear of failure, and then you get successful and you say, well, I don't really deserve this. Like this is lucky, and it's not. It's you just got to accept it that way. So, I mean, when you think of it that way, I mean, same thing you're doing with Forge. I mean, it's no matter what you say, it's always going to be about the community, the feeling that you get from serving others, okay, which obviously we're called to do, and, whether it be physical, mental, spiritual, and it just becomes addicting almost. Like it's like the best dopamine. And then, like, when you think about, when you're starting that struggle, you basically, wait, I'm in it right now. Like, we're halfway through Adam's workout, but I'm in it. And like, you start to get that dopamine hit of, okay, I can see the light at the end, and then I know how I'm going to feel. It's just the same thing with like setting goals, right? I mean, it's all about the joy of the actual goal setting, thinking about it, than the actual accomplishing it. So yeah, 100%. Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm super excited to get out there and check you out, because I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait to move some sand with you.
I know. I'm ready to get dirty and get into Lake Michigan. I can't wait. Cool, man. So one point I want to talk on too is, we've talked about limiting beliefs. We've talked about, things that feel pretty tough, but also, negative thoughts, but also the things that make us feel like we're on top of the world, right? So if you could think about those times where we're in those valleys, you feel like, we're at a low point or something. What are some mental tools, if you think about, mental skills and skill sets, and we've talked about reframing, that are vital for you to get out of that valley, for you to get out of that slump, for you to get back in a rhythm, because we all go through it. I mean, it's always going to be a roller coaster. So what have you found to be the most beneficial mental skills to get out of it?
I think you'll agree with this, and I'll go back.
I'll agree.
I'll go back to a quote from James Clear, right? You don't, he's the author of Atomic Habits, and he says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And I think there's a very, very strong need for you to understand and have a baseline of something that you can fall back to when you slip, when things get difficult, because they're going to happen. It's inevitable. You don't live a life free of discomfort if you're trying to grow and be better. You may be up and to the right, but you're going to have those dips and those valleys, right? And it's important. I kind of, my brain works in analogies, and I think of like a rock climber, right? And every time you get to a certain point and you learn a certain lesson, you put that clip into the stone, because then when you get to a new height and you slip and you fall, you've got something there to hold you, to catch you, to launch you back up, so that you don't fall all the way back into that barrel of self-pity that we can get into, where, you just self-sabotage everything that you've worked for because you don't have the systems. An important thing for me is to go back to simple. I move, I stay moving, and I stay in prayer. And for me, it's the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And what that do is it brings me back to what, I don't know if you were in the hot tub when Greg was talking about staying within your 3-foot circle,
Yeah,
focusing on the
yeah.
things that you can control. What is my next right move? And just doing that instead of letting the loud world, which is going to be loud, get into your head, get into your thoughts. Hopefully at that point, you've stacked enough evidence of the type of person that you are, and you can rely on that you are the person that you say you are. And it's not about perfection. It's about growth. And that's going to require giving yourself grace in those moments when you're not perfect. So I think just having that ability to fall back into your system. So what do? I wake up early. What do? I fuel appropriately. What do? I move my body. What do? I pray, right? I spend time in the Word. And when you have those systems that you can fall back on, you'll find it. You'll find that peace. And it's like, hey, I've been here before, right? This isn't new. I expected this to come, and my systems now allow me to catch myself before I fall way back down to where I was, and to the person that I don't want to go back to. That version has disappeared, and I don't want to see again.
That's awesome. I mean, you could, it's textbook. I mean, the systems, everything. It's, what I do in mental performance coaching is that I'm going to help you. I'm going to coach you in developing your system. Like, what are you going to do in the morning to set yourself up for the day? What do you need to get done throughout the day? And what are you going to do at night to end the day correctly and prepare yourself for the next? That's it. And how does that allow you to live? Your mind's organized, you've decluttered, and you have a system of no matter what happens, hey, here, like you said, here's my baseline. I'm going to get back to that baseline. No matter how low you get, how high you get, right? So,
Right.
absolutely nailed it. Cool. So let's talk about last point I want to get into. Um, we're both football guys. So last night was the Super Bowl. So we'll lighten it up. What was your favorite takeaway from the Super Bowl? There's a million stories about both teams, all the players, but what resonated with you throughout the whole Super Bowl experience that you're just kind of like, man, this is awesome?
Full transparency for me, and this is proof, and I actually love it, because I know that I'm a new creation. I didn't watch it. It's the first time in my life that two things didn't happen. I did not watch it. I mean, I watched a little bit of it. I think we watched
Yeah.
the first quarter, and I did not have anything to drink. And never in my life since I'm
12.
it reminds me of the quote I heard from a movie one time. It was like, yeah, I grew up, my life was tough. I used to smoke everything I could find, drink everything I could find, and then I turned 11. But no drink, no watching. But I woke up this morning, and I always try to layer it so it's not too thick all the time for my kids. I read a quote about a story about Sam Darnold after he won his first game with the Jets, and he was playing for Todd Bowles at the time, and everybody was like, "Hey man, this kid looks really good. He got his first win. Things are looking up for the Jets." He says, "Whoa, this is just one game, right? There's a lot that has to be seen yet. We'll know once we're 100 games in whether or not he's the guy." Well, last night was Sam Darnold's 101st game.
No way.
So I think we can safely say he was the guy. And I think if you leaned into his story a little bit, And you watch the expectation, and then the fall with the Jets, and then his little stint with the 49ers, then climbing back up with Minnesota, then, hey, we're going to go with JJ, to boom, I'm a Super Bowl winning quarterback. There's probably a lifetime of lessons to be learned just in the last 4 years of his NFL career. I didn't have a, you know, stake in that game or a hat in the ring. I didn't really care who won,
Mm-hmm.
but I like to hear those personal stories. I know there's some good stories on both sides. Another one, Cooper Kupp, right? I love Cooper Kupp's story. I love his internal dialogue that he had to have, even when the people that were supposed to be bringing him up, right, and cheering him on and elevating him, like his own coaches. I am who I am. I show up every day. I put in the work. God is good. I'm going to get where I need to be. Wins the Super Bowl. Life is on high with the Rams. Gets traded 2 years. What's he doing? Hoisting another trophy. And so I love those stories. And so that was, I guess that's the one takeaway I had from the Super Bowl is
So
really
cool.
that the time that passed for Sam Darnold. And
talking about Darnold, he's my favorite story, out of all this. And I caught one little clip, they interviewed him all week, but I caught one little clip and they said, where do you get this toughness, this mental toughness from? Like nothing's going to tear you down. You've been through, hell and back, expectations, higher, lower, everything. And he said, it's the way I was brought up. He said, Dad went to work from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m., got home, and he 100% was always there in the yard, throwing the ball, catching everything. Mom went to school every day, taught seventh and eighth graders, got home, put supper on the table. I know now how hard that was for them and how difficult it was for them, but they never mentioned it one time, and they were always just present for us and loved us. I'm like, man, what an example. What an example for every parent listening to that. Like just be present. Put in the work, be present. Don't go over the top. Show your kids they're good no matter what you say, your kids are going to follow what you do, right? He didn't say my dad told me to be tough. He said I watched my dad go to work from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. and my mom deal with eighth graders and then cook supper. And he watched it. He was closely watching every single day. And you never know what they're going to say. Now my daughter's new thing is she calls me. She walked out the door Friday morning and said, "Bye, see you later, Mr. Cold Plunge." I was like, "What?" And it's just these things that just connect in their head. You got to be ready because they're watching every little move.
they are.
My wife and I are learning the hard way, but it is what it is.
Yeah, there's no easy way to learn that, but yeah, your kids, they will almost always fail at listening to you, right? But they will almost always succeed at becoming you. And so that little thing, hey, Mr. Cold Plunge, that's sweet, that's fun, but she's going to be taking a cold plunge someday, and she's going to see how difficult it is, and the mental strength you need to have, and the fortitude that you need to have to show up and put your body in that level of stress and discomfort on purpose each day. And she's going to remember, man, my dad did this every day. I watched him every day get in, or 3 times a week, whatever it is for you, but consistently, right? Be present for himself in doing this. And it just unlocks a level of respect that it's going to take time and experience for them to gain.
Yep. Yeah. Incredible. Well, Adam, thank you for your time, brother. This has been awesome. I'm going to put the link to Forge in the description so that everybody can check you out. And man, we're going to have to do this again. This is really, really fun and so easy when it's just personal with somebody you know and love and respect. So can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah, dude, my pleasure. I love it. Have me on anytime. We can chat about whatever, dude. I love it, man.
Awesome, man. All right, brother. Talk soon.
All right, be good.